Welcome back, patrons, to another tutorial. And I'm outside so you can hear the sounds of nature and someone mowing their lawn over there. But today I wanted to take a quick second and talk about taking photos once again, because I think that's a question I get a lot, is how do I take better photos? And honestly, investing in a camera is an amazing idea. And if you have any questions about which camera, I can recommend a ton. But if you don't have a camera, professional camera, you probably have a cell phone, and I'm guessing because it's 2021, it's a smartphone. And they can take amazing pictures. It's just a matter of lighting. And if you look on YouTube or Instagram or anything, there's a lot of tutorials on ways to get better photos, but lighting is the most important factor. Lighting outweighs the camera, the lens, everything. If you have good lighting, you can take amazing photos. And even if you have an iPhone 7 or 5, you can take really good photos if the lighting is good. So today, I'm going to walk you through taking some photos and how to get the right lighting, no matter what kind of day it is. The best days that I've found for photo of jewelry is usually cloudy days, just because the sun is diffused by the clouds. Today is a blue sky, so there's no chance of that, but I'm going to show you how you can get good light even if it isn't diffused. And if you're outside, ways to get good light and also ways to get interesting shots. So let's get at it. All right, so let's start it out. I've got my camera app opened right here, and I'm just putting my piece and trying to find where the lighting is looking most flattering. And for this stone in particular, there's one side that has a really nice color for the stone, and the other side is more muted. You can kind of see it's a little bit more gray there. So in this, I'm going to show you one of the easiest things to make your photos look more professional is just messing with the exposure, because iPhones or most smartphones are just going to automatically expose, and a lot of times with jewelry they'll make it brighter than what you actually want. So an easy way to fix that is tap the screen and then drag down, and you'll see this little sun emblem right here, and that is just lowering the exposure. And you can find where you want to go. You can see how it's bright here, but I'm going to drag it way down, and that already kind of boosts the saturation a bit. I'm going to even take it down a little bit more. Make sure it's in focus. And that already, if you look, doing nothing to this photo, it looks already like I didn't take it with a cell phone. And so it's really important to mess with your exposure if you're using a cell phone in order to get a better shot. Alright, so I see a lot of things on how to take a good photo, but I don't see a lot of what not to do. So today I'm also going to show you what not to do. And I hear a lot of people say like, oh, I'm waiting for the sun to come out to take a picture of this piece. Don't ever do that. Sun is probably the worst way to take a picture of whatever you're doing, unless you're trying to get diamonds to sparkle and you're doing one of those out of focus videos. But for the most part, sun is really going to kill your photo if you do direct sun. It needs to be diffused somehow. So I'm going to show you what a picture in the sunlight looks like. So I'm over here in the direct sunlight, and I have lowered my exposure on my camera for filming this so I can really show you guys a little bit more of what I'm seeing. But just for example, so I'm going to get in here and take a picture with my phone again. And the one thing with a piece like this is because I have stones set in every part of it, it won't look quite as bad in the sun. I'm going to do the same thing and tap the exposure, bring it down. But even that, it looks terrible. This is like a little blurry and out of focus, but the thing when you're using direct sunlight is the camera doesn't really know what to do. Your phone camera, that is. And so it tries to compensate for really bright spots and really dim spots, and what ends up happening is the jewelry looks dirty and murky and just overall not good. So number one thing I suggest avoiding when you're taking photos of jewelry is sunlight. Now if it's a sunny day like I was talking about, that's fine. Find somewhere that's shade, and so right over here, I'm just in the shade a little bit more. I'm going to find a good spot and take a picture of this piece. Now another thing too is sometimes an iPhone camera won't really focus that well if if it's not zoomed in a little bit. So I'll zoom in a little bit, get to my piece, do the same thing, tap, bring the exposure down a little, and I'll take that shot. And already, this just looks so much better than this one. I mean, look at it. It makes such a big difference. And this is why I always say this is one of the most important skills to master and work at, because a photo is worth 1,000 words. So if I'm trying to sell something online and I show them this picture or I show them this picture, do you think anyone is going to buy it if they see this? If it were me, I would definitely not. But this looks cool. I'm intrigued. So here's another example of also what I like to do when I'm taking a photo. Now the angle of your piece that you're shooting is really important. And I'll show you another example of what I wouldn't do if I were just taking a photo. So what I always do, if you see a lot of my pieces, is I'm working at an angle, and I'll take the picture and then I'll show you. So what I'm doing when I'm taking a shot is I'm trying to create a leading line, and a leading line is something that will guide your eye into the photo. And so if you're working with something that has an angle, like this pendant has this point here at the tip, I'm going to point this right into the corner of my frame, and that will draw my eye into the piece. So if I'm taking a picture with my phone, that's the way I'm angling it, right like that. And it can go both ways. So I'll show you a little close up what I mean by that. So right here, I've got the line right from the corner leading into this piece, and same with the other way. I have the line leading in this way, and that just creates more intrigue. Sometimes when you have something going straight down like this, it can just be a little bit more boring of a photo, although this is not bad. This would be fine. And if I were taking this and trying to post online, I would actually turn this piece of wood. This is just a piece of scrap wood. I would turn it so that when I'm taking the picture, the lines aren't cutting through the edge of this. And I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you the difference right here. And I'll probably angle it as well. Now, this is what I mean. Sorry, I need to rotate this now. But let's just do that. So what I mean by turning the wood is, see how the lines of the wood are going up this way, and I want that going with my pendant, not cutting against it like it was here. So that's just a simple tip, try to use leading lines in everything that you're doing. So if you're shooting on a piece of wood, try to use leading lines in that, and also use your pendant to create a leading line. So using the corner going at an angle, it just creates a little bit more intrigue of a photo. Now I'm doing this outside around my house just to show you that really anything that's surrounding you, you can use for your photos. You can also set up a light box and do that inside. And I'll do that sometimes, but for me personally, at least my aesthetic, I prefer things that are a little bit more naturey. So I'll find a mossy stump, or an old log with some lichen, or just a piece of scrap wood lying around. But another thing you can do is look for color, especially if it's spring or fall, or summer. And you can find some flowers or something to use as a backdrop and try to complement the colors of whatever you're shooting. So I'll show you that right now. Okay, so right here I have these celosia flowers here, and this tourmaline has this nice pink color here. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you how I would use these colors to complement the piece that I'm shooting. So I'm going to get this nestled in here somewhere that I can really get a little bit more focus on the piece, but having that color in there. So this is kind of, I want it to be really framed a good amount by those colors. Again, I'm going to drag that exposure down, find maybe a better angle for this pendant. And then take that photo. Now sometimes, I'll move it around a little bit and try to find a few other places that I can get maybe a better angle. but that's looking pretty good. And I usually take my photos with my camera, but if you don't have a nice camera, you can take great photos with a phone. It's just a matter of messing around with the light a little bit. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna show you again what not to do and then what to do when you're angling your piece for a photo. Okay, so if I have this piece of wood and I'm trying to take a picture of the piece, like we talked about before, all right, the grain is going this way. So do I wanna have the piece facing this way? No, I don't. I wanna have it going along with the grain. Now, if I'm taking this photo, do I wanna just take it straight on? Personally, no. I like to create a little bit of a leading line by taking the angle of the piece and putting it at a 45-degree angle into the corner. And then again, this is pretty overexposed. If you can see in this, my pendant looks really bright, and I'm zoomed in a little bit. So this is it zoomed out. I'm zooming in a little bit. Now be careful if you zoom in too much, especially with a smartphone, the quality will just drop down dramatically and it will look horrible when you crop it. So I'm gonna tap on the screen once I've got my angle right, maybe angle it a little bit more, and then I'm gonna be dropping this exposure down and then taking that photo. Now I'm gonna take it the way that it's normally exposed, and I'm gonna show you what the difference is right now. Okay. So, this is a photo just how it's normally exposed. Now this is it when I bring the exposure down. Now this might be a little dark, and so I might go in and kind of change this up a little bit, but just automatically, this, to me, I can see so much more of the detail and it looks so much more interesting than this. To me, this is so washed out that it's kind of hard to see. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing with this piece. I'm gonna create my angle, and then see, I'm gonna take a picture without messing with the exposure. Now this also, I'm noticing there's a big line kind of between my piece right here, just for the crack in the wood, so I'm gonna move it over slightly so it's not interrupting the flow of this photo. Okay, so that's overexposed, and I'm gonna take one underexposed. Not underexposed, just more of a correct exposure. I'm going to show you the difference. Now you tell me which of these photos you like more. This is the one where I took the exposure down, and that's it with the exposure up. Same phone, same lighting, just different exposure. So it makes such a big difference to take your time and really mess with exposure. Also, try a few different places around your house and find the best lighting that you can. And if you don't have anywhere great around your house, go to the park. Go somewhere green. I've taken great photos of jewelry in a parking lot. I just find a corner with some moss growing or some cracks in the paint, and you can find some great places to take photos. So I hope this helps you guys to get out there and start taking some photos of your own. But take the time to master your camera. You've got a really powerful thing in your pocket that you're taking everywhere with you. You don't need to get a fancy camera to take great photos, but you need to learn how to use it right. And lighting is probably the most important thing that you could learn. But we live in a digital age where there's a lot of emphasis on good pictures and video, and if you know how to use this, you can market yourself so much easier. And so, unless you want to just be going to markets and selling things in person, there's a good chance you're going to be needing to post things online to sell them. And in order to do that, you really need some good photos. As soon as I worked on my photos, instantly I was able to up my prices of all of my jewelry. And when you're selling something and it looks great and it looks just like it looks in person, it's a great selling point. And honestly, my sales went up dramatically when my photos were good. It's worth taking the time to dial in your photos, and it will pay off in dividends from here on out. So I hope this helps, and either way, I'll see you guys next week.